Being caught too often within the receiving end of the unpleasantness that the world has to offer will, a lot of the times, completely break a man's spirit and turn it for the worse into the opposite extremities. The mountainous accumulation of pain that he experienced in his reality will shatter all of his expectations and ideals that he had been conditioned for years to believe and hang on to. And we all know reality is always a lot darker and way more sinister or unforgiving than the barrage of overly delusional optimism and make-believes that we are often fed with by those who deny reality and wrap them round their own collection of solipsistic subjectivism. Human beings are inherently incapable of handling the entirety of truth on how the world actually operates in the most transparent and rawest level. And when all of the confidence within their own romantic assumptions, assurances, predictions, forecasts, and hopes are utterly demolished by the natural law of the universe and humanity that they refuse to acknowledge and understand, the immense magnitude of dissonance, disappointment, and disbelief will unleash a seemingly endless string of negative emotions that would cloud their judgments and eventually dictate both their decisions and actions. The profound feelings of anger, despair, hate, resentment, bitterness, and lust for vengeance overwhelms his state of mind and transform him into an extremely single-minded anarchist. I mean, being a man who was bullied, betrayed, abused, condemned, banished, abandoned, and forgotten, they will accumulate a collection of painful experiences that will, without a doubt, generate endless questions within him that are in need of desperate answering. Because, of course, we all learn significantly better from painful experiences rather than pleasurable experiences. And if he can't find those answers, or if he is unable to accept those answers that had been given to him, he will inevitably develop his own selfish answers based on his own shallow and incomplete perspectives that only prioritizes the satisfaction of the immediate reaction of his instincts or ego towards his bleak circumstances, and that is to react impulsively. And yes, innately speaking, forgiveness is a hard thing for human beings to eventually learn and adopt. Vengeance is our natural response in order to eradicate threats, eliminate competitions, and satiate emotional cravings. It's the classic villain mindset to utilize one's painful experiences to inflict pain to those who delivered pain to him in the first place, and to those who hasn't experienced all the pain that he had, giving everyone who wronged him a taste of their own medicine to witness their state of agony, suffering, and eventually their unpleasant demise. It's an extremely impulsive decision. That is why being a hero is a lot harder than being the villain, because a hero has to withhold and overcome all of those impulsive tendencies. Now, it is not to say that experiencing the victim mentality ourselves isn't a normal thing that occurs when we experience pain. It is in fact very normal to feel that way. It's simply an emotional response. But what separates the ones that eventually succeed in controlling those negative emotions and those who let them soar into a cataclysmic force of destruction are those that are able to effectively compromise and disconnect the self-evident reality of the circumstances that they experienced from all of their previously adopted or conditioned ideals, expectations, perspectives, and ego investments. Our lingering hatred and bitterness does not come from experiencing painful or unfair circumstances. No, it's all because our spiritually invested propositions are practically contradicted by the visible, noticeable, and perceptible reality that cause tremendous level of dissonances and disputes, in which our sense of self-esteem or self-worth refused to concede and or could not handle in conceding. For example, a lot of us wholeheartedly believe that human beings are purely creatures of peace, love, compassion, and empathy because we are gifted with those capabilities. And yet, we refuse to acknowledge that we are also gifted with destructive and mischievous qualities as well, such as our desire and capacity to physically hurt other people and tell a bunch of lies to fulfill our selfish intentions. So when other people start to display these supposedly sinister qualities, they identify them as ridiculously and utterly inhumane, while also denying their own capacity and capabilities to perform such conducts should the situation cause for them to do so. They refuse to accept that those dark qualities also make up a significant part of being human. Like if they are forced to defend themselves from someone who wants to kill them to the ends of earth, they will have to put him down for good in order to put a stop to his never-ending murderous intent and survive. The victim mentality is actually the initial emotional phase when our optimistic narratives are contradicted with reasonable evidence, because we are desperately trying to find a way to prove our own claims. And because we are unable to do so, our stubbornness will seek a way out by impulsively trying to find faults, defects, and inconsistencies within those evidence. Kinda like Amber Heard trying to desperately justify her claims against all the evidence that has been brought up against her. In the end though, whether that mentality remains or not, it all depends on your ability to momentarily compromise against incoming reasonable narratives and perspectives in order for you to further evolve your own knowledge and judgments regarding certain circumstances that befall you. Because if you remain unyieldingly pig-headed within your own bubble of ideals while keep getting contradicted with first-hand, tangible, or plausible evidence, then you will remain resentful and keep pointing fingers at the world for operating within its own nature. The sad thing about the victim mindset is that internally he is also desperately seeking for someone who would sympathizes with him and understands both his circumstances and conducts. But unfortunately, this isn't the movies where one could follow him alongside every step he takes and also experience the exact same circumstances that he went through to fully understand him, because in the real world most people couldn't care less, as one's own problem is one's own authority and responsibility to solve. No one wants to be with someone who is a sensitive, miserable, and emotionally nihilistic wreck that hurts other people for pleasure or because he couldn't endure a series of bad days and bad lucks. Which, let's be honest, happens to everyone on this planet. They just refuse to give them any form of highlight for other people to notice. No one will respect he who does not even try his best to change his circumstances for the better and instead continuously moaning, grumbling, and protesting their problems to desperately look for any forms of concern. Thank you for watching.